sports veterans prove wisdom comes with experience, and a good strategy and great determination can win out over any obstacle. I met up with extraordinary cyclist Chris Brunt.
Chris, tell me a bit about yourself, your background, also where did your love for cycling first start?
Well, I'm originally from Johannesburg, now living in Pretoria. I've always been a sportsman right through my school days. When I left school, I went into motocross and off-road enduros. I was awarded my Springbok colours in 1983 for motorsport. It was basically that, in a funny way, that led to cycling because I wrecked both knees. I took both knees out of the sockets. I had to do a complete knee rebuild. And in 2005, I had a bursa on this left knee, which they had to remove. And the doctor said to me, he said, Chris, if you carry on running or doing anything like that, you're going to have a knee replacement by 50. So I said to him, what do I do? He said, well, you're going to have to start cycling. I did my first August in 2006, and then the bug bit.
His passion is mountain biking marathons. Over the last 4 years, Chris competed in 31 marathons and won 27. He took a scientific approach to preparation to give him the edge.
I realized way back then when I started training that if I was going to try and win my category, which was masters, I'd have to be smarter and train smarter than the rest who had perhaps been riding for 30 years already. The power training system, there are a number of different versions out there, and for every ride it gives you a TSS, which is a training stress score. It measures CTL, which is really a constant training load, which is a measure of your fitness. And it's really a balance of that versus what they call TSB, which is training stress balance, which is really the freshness of your legs.
This sounds complex, so like Chris, you can benefit from using an interactive web-based training and nutrition log to help monitor all aspects of training and achieve your goals.
Well, you definitely took a scientific approach to preparation, but let's talk a bit about your food intake. What is it like? What do you eat?
It's been an interesting story, that as well. I have an extremely high metabolic rate, and I actually ran into major problems earlier this year. I had a blood glucose intolerance test, and your waking blood glucose is about 4.7, 4.5. Well, mine was 2.3, which is exceptionally low. These high carbohydrate or high GI drinks that I'd been taking over time was almost turning me into a type 2 diabetic where I was getting insulin spikes. Irma Buertes said to me, Chris, just go out and have straight Epic Pro. Before, drink half a litre before the race and make sure that you consume 500 mils every hour of the race, which I've done most recently. At Crater Cruise, I did that. It was a 4-hour race, and I took my blood glucose, and it was 6.1. And it's made a huge difference in the races I've done to then. And also knowing in your head that, in fact, the tiredness you're feeling is quite natural and you're not bonking, in fact, and running out of energy.
Bonking is what cyclists call abnormally low levels of blood glucose, like when Lance Armstrong forgot to eat on one leg of the 2000 Tour de France, his worst day on a bike ever.
Would you definitely go out there and recommend Epic Pro to other cyclists that's in your shoes and also in your age group?
I would most definitely. I've experimented with all sorts of things. The nice thing about Epic Pro is it has Pepto Pro in it. They've got, I think it's hydrolyzed. In other words, it's in very, very fine powder form. So it's able to digest that protein much quicker than a normal protein. It's got that in it. And then it's got multi-dextrose, which is a complex type carbohydrate. And it's certainly done the trick for me. I've done a number of tests now where I've gone out on 4-hour rides, taken my blood glucose every hour. And the racing was the real test to see what it would be like under racing conditions at the end of a 4-hour ride.
Get in the habit of monitoring yourself for the early signs of bonking. This might include getting irritable and angry, and pedaling might suddenly feel like a chore.
Do you have any advice for the guys going out on the road this weekend?
Yes, I think just take it easy from now on. What training you haven't done now, the only training you can do is to actually ease off and go in with fresh legs and make sure you're well hydrated and have the correct carbo drink on the day.
Chris, thank you so much. But just before you leave us, what's next for you in terms of your cycling career?
Well, luckily next year we have Worlds in our own country. I've been to Worlds before. I finished 6th in the time trial in 2008. I was 200ths of a second off the podium, which was 3rd place. In other words, there were 4 guys placed within 200ths of a second. And my aim is to try and get on the podium in August next year at Worlds down in Maritzburg in the time trials.
We wish you all of the best, Chris. Tune in again tomorrow as we talk about the mental preparation for race day. In the meantime, find the supplement right for you on usn.co.za.